I haven't shown you the shirts, have I?
No.
Before we leave, I have images of the shirts. We can actually, we can start popping our merch.
Okay, I like it.
Are we recording?
I think so.
Do you want me to start the audio over again, or just let Ryan wade through that? We'll let the Arizona Unicorn handle that one.
This Arizona Unicorn actually got through it really easily and made you, Mark, look absolutely amazing. So, without anything further, let's add some widescreen and get to the intro of this video.
Hey, welcome back, guys. Today you're probably noticing that this is not the inside of a cockpit. This is in fact my basement. But what we need to do is we need to fix Mark's screw up because he's a little bit incompetent, and I went out and took a flight the other day and thought, wow, this is gonna make a great video, and then used an audio recorder without realizing that the output jack was not working because I didn't switch it from the mic on board the device to an external source, and so we have a problem. So what I'm going to do today is explain what's going on and what I did. So a couple months ago, I started working on multi-engine endorsement and then got busy. And so I did a couple simulator flights, then did some flows inside the aircraft, went up for one flight, then got busy doing other things, traveling around, taking guests for a new interior, things of that nature, and have been traveling for work quite a bit, quite extensively in the last couple months. So that got put on hold, but I'm back at it now, and in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, we've been doing a lot of flights, and this is one of those flights for a multi-engine rating, and I thought that it would be interesting to see, for those of you that are following along, see the inside of the aircraft, see what the 310 training looks like. That's the aircraft that we're training in, is a Cessna 310R, and take you along for a ride in one of these training flights. And hopefully in one of the upcoming videos, we'll actually do the mock check ride and show you how that goes, so that if you are working on your multi-engine rating, you know what that entails and what the check ride looks like. So before we get into all this, it would mean a lot to me if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button down below. And don't be afraid to leave a comment if you see something that you like, or you see something that I could be doing better, or see something I missed. Without further ado, we're going to get into this video. See right here, what I'm doing is I'm filling the propeller, and I just like to fill my propeller because she likes to be felt. Smooth surfaces. Pumps running in here, pumpers, or thumper pumpers, what they call them. Checking to make sure the pitot heat's hot, that's a good thing. Ox tanks are empty. All of this, of course, is just your standard pre-flight. And I'm tired, so I'm gonna take a nap here. Wait for the little retractable lights to come up before we pull the breakers for the thumper bumpers. Next thing I like to do is just, interesting fact, on the 310 there are 8 sumps. The other thing I check out is when I'm walking around is I'll open up all these doors. Manifest. The word is manifest. Ledger. And we go inside. So right now I'm just checking for all these VGs. I'm looking at this boot, making sure the boot's good, making sure there's no VGs, vortex generators missing. That prop, oh so smooth. This is like, I think maybe this is my 5th flight in the 310, so we're doing multi-engine training. And we're gonna go up today and probably work on short fields. What we're gonna do is we're gonna calculate our normal takeoff, distance, then we'll do max takeoff, or max performance takeoff. We'll do accelerated stop. Accelerated stop distance is gonna be roughly 3750. 260 feet a minute, single engine. Server ceiling is going to be about 9,600 feet.
Why is everybody so involved on my shoes? I just They're bright.
I'll have you know, the lady over there at the counter said I have really nice shoes, and I have
True
to grab the
story.
shoes of anybody she knows. Get out of here, man. We're trying to fly.
Is he one of the more trying students?
Yes. That is my flight instructor, Eric, and I've been with him since private, so we've got a lot of time together, and he's been great to fly with. This is that part where we say, things have been trimmed, but trust me, we've taken all the precautions to make sure that everything's safe. This is part of that. And I think this is the day, this is the day that we had a cloud deck that was pretty low. So we really struggled to, we'll do the run up. Run up's pretty simple, not a lot different than a single engine. I will say the pre-flight on a multi-engine seems to take more time, especially given the fact that you have to do a manifest and things like that. So the pre-flight is a much more involved process, and doing the manifest, weight and balance, not so simple. Calculating your takeoff roll every time instead of a single engine. Use rough approximations, but in this they really want to train us to know what our accelerate, stop, accelerate, go distance is, because we do have two engines. And then we do the takeoff brief, and that is, what are we going to do? What's going to happen if we have a power loss? So the takeoff brief is a little bit different than your standard takeoff brief. So basically, if you're still on the runway, wheels down or on the runway, then you're just going to brake and land straight ahead. If you've already rotated and your gear is in transit or up, then that's when you go through your checklist, CP dive checklist, basically return to the airport, and then above 3,000 feet is when we can consider our options, and we've got a little bit more time to diagnose things and maybe do an air restart or something like that. So that's basically what they want to see. They want to see you call out red line. And here, as we rotate, I'm looking over to the right-hand side. I'm looking at 2Y, and that is the engine gauge, is basically oil pressure, temperature. When it's drawn out, it looks like a flux capacitor, so that's what it looks like, an inverted Y. And so the things that we call out on takeoff roll are going to be airspeed alive, 2Y, meaning that the engine functions are all good. Red line, when we hit red line, which is 71 knots, and then we'll hit rotate, which is going to be 85 knots in this, and blue line, which is 106, so we'll climb out at blue line. And basically, as soon as we get a positive rate, which means positive rate times 2, so altimeter and vertical speed indicator are both increasing, then we retract the gear. So whereas in a single engine, I'm used to retracting a gear maybe a little bit later. In this, we're trying to get that gear up as fast as possible to reduce drag. So that's a little different than single engine, where we may leave it down a little bit longer until we're at a usable runway. The one thing I really enjoy about the 310 is the feel of the thrust compared to a single engine. There's just so much more power there. Just the acceleration's better, and the climb rate is so much better. So instead of getting maybe 500, 600 feet a minute, you're getting 12, 1300 feet a minute, maybe as high as 2000 at certain times. And then as we rotate, we climb out, and the gear's already up, the flaps are up. Once we hit about 700 feet above ground, that's when we're going to do our checklist. We're going to turn our fuel pumps off. Fuel pumps, low boost will come off. Then we'll pull back for top of the green on both prop and throttle. Lean our mixture just a little bit, and then continue to pitch for blue line. And that's all I'm focused on really hard right here. So basically we're going to go out to the north practice area is what we call, and that's kind of between Cody and Powell. Right next to Heart Mountain is the area that we practice in, or we have been practicing in, so we're just maneuvering to that area. And then when we get there, we'll do some maneuvers. Right there is the canyon that goes by Buffalo Bill Reservoir and heads to the east entrance of Yellowstone National Park. Oh, the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do a bunch of landings. I forgot about that. So when I'm practicing here, what you saw was basically me staying in the pattern. So I took off for runway 2, made left traffic, and we're just coming back to land runway 22. And we're practicing short field right now, which I really struggled with. I was surprised at how hard I struggled with short field landings in this, just because the sight picture is a little bit different, and my throttle management's just a little bit different. The speed's a little faster. The other thing that kind of kills me on the multi-engine, or the 310 especially, is that the nose cone is really tapered. And so I have a hard time remembering to kick my rudder, because it looks like I'm headed straight when I'm actually kind of cockeyed. And there's a the front baggage door, if you ever do your training in a 310, the front baggage door is more in line with the center line of the runway. So if you use that to line up with instead of your nose, which is slanted, you'll do a better job of lining up. But missed this landing, which I'm always hard on myself for stuff like that. I think here we're going to do a short field takeoff, which is 15 degrees of flaps. Yep, he killed an engine on me. You can see us kind of take a right turn, and that's because he's killed my right engine, and so we're turning pretty good to the right as I diagnose. And so CP dive is the checklist I'm going through. Control for blue line, props full forward, mixture full forward, gear up, flaps up. Then identify and verify. And so I've gone through that checklist: identify, verify, and feather. And now we're going to do a single engine landing. Right when I was doing probably about 700 feet above the ground, he took one engine away from me. And I guarantee it was the right engine that he took from me, because we turned right pretty good there. More than we should have. The turning, not only do you need to be gentle with your turns, but the turnings, you're mashing on rudders pretty hard, and so turning sucks. This wasn't a short field landing, but I went ahead and tried to hit the 1,000 footers, and I think I came fairly close, being the fact that I was single engine. But that's not a requirement on your check ride. The biggest thing I have learned is that if you leave any power in whatsoever when you know you've got the runway made, if you leave it in too long, that you're going to go long every time. But then on the flip side of that, if you pull it out too soon, that the plane's coming down. You really start slowing down quickly. So right ahead of us is Hart Mountain. If you're watching this from somewhere else, one of the most famous things you might have heard Hart Mountain for is the Hart Mountain Relocation Camp, which is not too far from there, is where they relocated all the Japanese during World War II. Not a proud moment in our history. We're flying. We're just up there kissing the clouds. Turn or do something. I'm getting bored. Come on, flyboy. We've finally done all our clearing turns, now we're doing steep turns, which I struggled with as well. Steep turns I've fought because the sight picture is so much different than my plane, the one I've been flying forever, so it took me a while to figure out exactly what that sight picture needed to be, and I continually was losing altitude. I'd make it about halfway through the turn, do about 180 degrees of turn, and then let the nose fall and lose altitude. Even though I've been through commercial and private, I don't know why I struggled with this so much. Luckily the other day I went out and it was within 50 feet, it was no big deal. So once I finally learned the sight picture, this became a lot easier. So we're running through that CP dive checklist again, and what they do, typically if they don't want to do a full shutdown, which I don't believe in this case we did a full shutdown, full feather, but what they'll do is what they call zero thrust, and so that means that they'll pull your prop back to just above the detent, and then pull your throttle back to like the bottom of the green, and that's basically to simulate a feathered prop zero thrust situation with the prop actually still spinning and the engine still running. So that's something we had happen to us the other day. We got into the plane and we weren't even thinking about it, and did all of our calls and everything, and it was a pretty quiet day, not a lot going on in Cody, and we're up there flying around making all our radio calls, never thought twice about it, and then finally we get a call, the instructor gets a call on his cell phone, they're like, yeah, the airlines are trying to get a hold of you. And what had ended up happening is somebody had turned the radio volume all the way down on a previous flight, and we had no idea. We're making all of our calls, and it was just such a quiet day. The only person up there flying around was the airline, and no other students in the air, which was unusual for this day. And we're thinking, oh, it's just a quiet day, which isn't uncommon for our area. And the airlines called, and we were saying, hey, they could hear us, but we couldn't hear them, and so they got a hold of the flight instructor. So always a note to yourself, is check your volume, especially if somebody else has been flying the plane. I've never even thought to do that, because usually we're making radio calls right up until we taxi into the FBO. So, yep, we're doing a single engine approach here. You can see we put on the foggles, so we're doing single engine IFR approach. So that was the single engine approach, and unfortunately the cameras all died before we got to see the final approach, but he brought us down to maybe 300 or 400 feet and then just straight in. So that was just to simulate single engine approach. Good time. And that's it. So 2 tips today. Number 1, always make sure your audio is good. And that's twofold, on your cameras and make sure other people can hear you on your radios as well. Both of those can be an issue. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me in my commentary, since I'm a little bit incompetent and didn't check my audio. But hopefully you've enjoyed this, and we'll try and bring you another 310 flying lesson, mock check ride here, maybe in the next video. So, you know what? Here's another secret. I have merch. You know, you see this fancy sticker right here? I have some shirts getting made up that have got that on it and some other cool stuff, and they turned out pretty spectacular. So if you're interested in some of that, maybe one of these unicorn people in their basement that do all this editing, maybe they'll throw a picture of that up here, somewhere like maybe over here, maybe down here. I don't know where they're gonna put it. There's gonna be a picture of this pop up somewhere on this screen that'll give you a link to some of that merchandise. So if you'd like to support the channel, that's coming up. Until then, fly safe and fly high, and you have a good dang day. The camera's almost made it for that whole flight. It sucks that the one on me is the one that made it. I would have rather had it out the front windshield, but you don't get to choose.